On January 12, 2026, a single headline sent shockwaves through the global economy. China halted all exports of processed rare earth materials to the Netherlands. The news broke in the early hours, and within minutes, it was the top story on every major network, dominating social media feeds and sparking frantic calls in boardrooms around the world. The implications were immediate and severe, as the world realized that a single government decision could disrupt the very foundation of modern technology. The target of this unprecedented move was ASML, the Dutch company at the heart of the world's most advanced microchips. ASML isn't just another tech firm, it's the only company capable of producing the extreme ultraviolet lithography machines that power the latest generation of semiconductors. These machines are the backbone of everything from smartphones to supercomputers, making ASML a linchpin in the global tech ecosystem. Almost instantly, ASML's stock crashed, erasing over $3 billion in market value within hours. Investors panicked, and the ripple effect was felt across global markets. The sudden drop wasn't just a financial blow, it was a warning sign that the world's technological future was more vulnerable than anyone had imagined. This wasn't a market blip, it was economic warfare, fought with minerals, not missiles. Rare earth elements like terbium and dysprosium are essential for manufacturing high-tech components, and China controls the vast majority of their global supply. By weaponizing these resources, Beijing demonstrated a new kind of power, one that could cripple industries without firing a single shot. The world realized just how fragile the global tech supply chain really was. Companies scrambled to assess their inventories while governments convened emergency meetings to discuss contingency plans. The interconnectedness that once fueled rapid innovation now exposed a critical vulnerability, one that could bring entire industries to a standstill. Beijing's move was a direct response to a Dutch government action days earlier, when the Netherlands imposed new export restrictions on advanced chip-making technology to China. The tit-for-tat escalation marked a turning point in the ongoing tech rivalry between East and West, with both sides willing to risk economic pain to protect their strategic interests. Suddenly, the semiconductor industry became the main battlefield in a new geopolitical conflict. The stakes were enormous, not just for tech companies but for national security, economic growth, and the daily lives of billions of people who depend on digital devices. Without rare earths like terbium and dysprosium, ASML's lithography machines, essential for making advanced chips, couldn't be built. Engineers faced the daunting prospect of redesigning critical components or finding new suppliers, a process that could take years and cost billions. The collapse was just the start. The real cost would be measured in factory shutdowns and lost jobs worldwide. From assembly lines in Asia to research labs in Europe and the US, the impact rippled outward, threatening the livelihoods of millions and the stability of entire economies. Every major chipmaker, from Intel to TSMC, relies on ASML's machines. With production halted, the world's supply of advanced chips was suddenly in jeopardy, putting everything from cars to medical devices at risk of shortages. By targeting ASML, China was holding the entire digital world hostage. The message was clear: control over critical resources could decide the fate of nations in the 21st century. The era of globalized efficiency had revealed its greatest weakness. As shelves emptied and production lines ground to a halt, the world faced a sobering reality. In a hyper-connected age, a single disruption could bring the entire system crashing down. The crisis began with a bold Dutch move. On January 5, 2026. The Netherlands seized Nexperia, a major chipmaker owned by China's Wingtech technology. The Dutch cited national security, arguing that Chinese control over a key semiconductor supplier was too risky. Nexperia makes the everyday chips that power cars, robots, and infrastructure across Europe. Backed by new EU rules, the Dutch government nationalized Nexperia's assets, crossing a red line with Beijing. Officials hoped China would protest, but ultimately accept the move. They miscalculated. In Beijing, the seizure was seen as economic aggression and Western protectionism. It became the final straw after years of tech restrictions and trade disputes. The Dutch action gave China the perfect excuse to strike back at the heart of Europe's tech industry. China's response was swift and precise. The Ministry of Commerce quietly suspended exports of 17 processed rare earth elements to the Netherlands. These included neodymium, terbium, and dysprosium, vital for ASML's advanced lithography machines. The move was a surgical strike, maximum pain for the Netherlands, minimal blowback for China. Beijing framed it as a necessary response to the Nexperia seizure, using the West's own national security logic. State media painted China as defending itself against Western hypocrisy. The embargo exposed the West's deep vulnerability. If the West could block tech exports, China could block the raw materials. The era of open trade was over. Supply chains had become weapons. The world's digital future now hinged on a handful of minerals, and who controlled them? The message was clear. China held the cards. The first to suffer weren't tech giants, but car makers. Within days, panic hit Europe's auto industry. Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes faced the prospect of halted chip supplies. Modern cars are packed with thousands of semiconductors, all ultimately dependent on ASML's machines. The rare earth embargo threatened to choke off the entire supply chain. Volkswagen paused production at its flagship EV plant in Germany, sending shockwaves through the economy. Other automakers warned of looming shutdowns and losses. The crisis revealed Europe's lack of control over its most critical components. The pain spread to the US, where Ford and GM realized their own dependence on ASML technology. The car industry became the canary in the coal mine, proof that the digital world's foundation was cracking. Without ASML's machines, the future of mobility, and much more, was suddenly in doubt. To truly grasp the magnitude of the current crisis, you first need to understand the company at its center, ASML. Nestled in the quiet town of Veldhoven, Netherlands, ASML may not be a household name, but it is the silent engine powering the digital age. Its headquarters, sleek and unassuming, belies the immense influence it wields over the global technology landscape. ASML is the only company on Earth that has mastered extreme ultraviolet lithography, or EUV, a technology so advanced, it's the sole gateway to manufacturing the world's most cutting-edge microchips. Without EUV, the smartphones in our pockets, the data centers powering the cloud, and the AI chips driving innovation would simply not exist in their current form. Each EUV machine is a technological marvel, costing upwards of $200 million. These machines are not just expensive, they are intricate puzzles, assembled from over 100,000 precision-engineered parts sourced from a vast network of suppliers across the globe. The assembly process alone can take months, requiring the expertise of hundreds of engineers and technicians. Tech giants like Apple, Nvidia, and Intel, names synonymous with innovation, are entirely dependent on semiconductor foundries that, in turn, rely on ASML's EUV machines. Without ASML, the entire supply chain for advanced chips would collapse, halting progress in everything from consumer electronics to supercomputers. This unique position makes ASML the ultimate choke point in the global technology supply chain. If ASML falters, the ripple effects would be felt in every corner of the digital world, from Silicon Valley to Shenzhen. Yet, the very complexity that makes ASML's machines so powerful is also their Achilles heel. These machines require rare earth elements, materials with unique magnetic and optical properties, refined almost exclusively in China. The supply of these elements is tightly controlled, and their processing is a highly specialized, energy-intensive task. We're not just talking about raw minerals dug from the earth. ASML's machines depend on ultra-pure powders, custom alloys, and high-performance magnets, as well as specialized optics that can only be produced with the purest materials. These components are the result of decades of scientific research and industrial refinement. If China were to restrict the export of these critical materials, ASML's production lines could be brought to a standstill, no military action required. A simple policy change or customs inspection could halt the flow of essential components, crippling the company's ability to build or maintain its machines. While existing EUV machines might continue operating for a time, the production of new machines, and even the maintenance of those already in the field, would grind to a halt. The world's most advanced chipmakers would be left waiting, unable to expand or upgrade their capabilities. In this precarious moment, ASML's fate, and by extension, the fate of the entire digital ecosystem, now hangs by a thread, dependent on a fragile supply line that winds its way through China's tightly controlled export system. The crown jewel of European technology, once the driving force behind global innovation, now finds itself suddenly powerless, caught in the crossfire of a geopolitical struggle that threatens to reshape the future of technology itself. Rare earths aren't actually rare, but processing them is. China spent decades building a near-total monopoly on refining these elements, while the West focused on design and software. Today, China mines 60% of rare earths, but controls over 90% of global processing. For key elements like dysprosium and terbium, China's grip is almost absolute. Even US and Australian ores are often shipped to China for final processing. The West is decades behind, with little domestic capacity and almost no expertise. China's dominance is no accident. It's the result of long-term strategy and heavy subsidies. The US once led in rare earths, but environmental and economic pressures shifted the industry to China. Europe is even more dependent, with almost no processing of its own. The embargo was the moment the West's decades-old gamble finally backfired. After the embargo, Western leaders scrambled for alternatives and found none. Building rare earth processing plants takes years, not months. Environmental regulations and local opposition make new facilities almost impossible to launch quickly. The West also faces a critical shortage of experts in rare earth chemistry and metallurgy. China has thousands, the West has a handful. Even if new plants were built, they couldn't compete with China's scale and subsidies. Private investors see too much risk and too little profit. The West's decades-long focus on efficiency and cost-cutting left it trapped. There's no quick fix, just a hard lesson in the cost of outsourcing. The supply chain crisis is a self-inflicted wound. The crisis spread fast. What began as a ripple quickly became a tidal wave, sweeping across industries and continents with alarming speed. Newsrooms around the world scrambled to keep up, as headlines shifted from cautious concern to outright panic. European car factories were just the first domino. Assembly lines that once hummed with activity fell silent overnight, their workers sent home, their supply chains frozen. The automotive industry, a backbone of the European economy, ground to a halt, sending shockwaves through suppliers and local communities alike. With no new ASML machines, chip foundry expansions in the US and Europe stalled. These highly specialized machines, essential for producing the world's most advanced semiconductors, became the bottleneck no one could bypass. Factories that had invested billions in new capacity suddenly found themselves at a standstill, unable to move forward. Billions in investment and years of planning were suddenly worthless. Boardrooms filled with disbelief as executives watched their projections collapse. Next, consumer electronics. Apple and Samsung delayed product launches, their flagship devices stuck in limbo. The world's most anticipated gadgets, once symbols of progress, became reminders of vulnerability. This disruption rippled out to billions of consumers who found themselves unable to upgrade their devices. Frustration grew as shelves emptied and wait lists stretched for months. The digital world slowed down, and daily life was affected everywhere. From city streets to rural towns, people clung to aging technology, their routines disrupted by shortages and delays. The sense of progress that had defined the modern era seemed to stall. The defense sector was hit too. Military projects stalled, and critical upgrades were postponed indefinitely. Modern weapons rely on advanced chips, and without them, even the most sophisticated systems became obsolete. Technicians scrambled to find workarounds, but the gap was impossible to bridge. The West's military edge was at risk, as rivals watched closely, sensing an opportunity in the chaos. Security briefings grew tense, and the stakes rose higher with each passing day. The uncertainty triggered inflation and crippled investment. Markets tumbled, investors panicked, and the global economy teetered on the edge of recession. Semiconductors proved to be the new oil, more valuable than ever, and just as essential. Every industry, from healthcare to transportation, felt the pinch as supplies dwindled. They were the foundation of the modern world, powering everything from smartphones to power grids, from cloud computing to national security. The global system had no backup plan. Leaders gathered in emergency summits searching for solutions that didn't exist. The world's interconnectedness, once its greatest strength, now revealed its deepest vulnerability. The world had built everything on a single point of failure. Engineers and policymakers alike realized, too late, that resilience had been sacrificed for efficiency. That point had just snapped. The dominoes kept falling, each collapse triggering the next, as the world watched helplessly. With no end in sight, shortages deepened, and the true cost of dependency became painfully clear. The world had entered uncharted territory, and the path forward was anything but certain. As of January 14, 2026, the crisis remains unresolved. The standoff between the Netherlands and China marks a new era of open economic conflict. The illusion of safe, rules-based global trade is shattered. Strategic resources and technologies are now weapons, not just commodities. The West's pursuit of efficiency created dangerous dependencies. Rebuilding resilience will take trillions and more than a decade. In the meantime, the world faces a chip winter, slowed progress, delayed green transitions, and rising tensions. The Nexperia ASML crisis is a turning point. The chip war is no longer abstract. The world is now fractured and the supply chain is broken.